Am I the asshole for banishing my teenage daughter's friend from our house because she made fun of my weight? I, 37F, have 2 kids with my husband, 41 meters, a 14-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. Our daughter has always been a little socially awkward to the point that we've had her tested since we suspected her of being on the spectrum. Turns out she isn't on the spectrum, she's just a natural introvert. However, this year in school we were thrilled when our daughter made a new friend her age, since that is an area in which she struggles. Long story short, she recently invited her new friend over, with our approval, to have dinner at our house and then spend the night. So, my daughter's friend came over. My husband is usually the cook in the family and this night was no exception. He made us all a really nice meal. During the course of said meal I asked my daughter's friend, "Are you enjoying the food?" She responded, "Yes. Your husband is a great cook. No wonder you've ended up a bigger woman." The room got quiet for several moments. My husband tried to laugh it off and change the subject, but I wasn't having it. The girl had just leveled a completely uncalled for insult at me. My daughter's friend seemed to realize that she'd messed up, but she didn't say anything else. We finished an awkward dinner in mostly silence, and my daughter's friend did stay the night. This was a couple of months ago. Recently my daughter asked if she could have her friend back over, and I told her sure, if she's going to apologize to me. When our daughter asked what I meant, I reminded her of what she'd said. My daughter responded that it was over and she didn't want to bring it up again. She then went to her father and asked. He said sure, but she then told him what I'd said. He came to me and said, "Daughter's friend just felt awkward and tried to make a joke. It didn't land. For the sake of our daughter, can't you just let it go?" Yes, I could, but the thing is that I just want an apology from the girl. I need to see that she understands how rude she was before I can get on board with her and my daughter hanging out. My husband says that I am being weird for insisting on an apology from a 14-year-old, especially since that girl is such a good friend of our daughter. I think it's weird that I'm still waiting for an apology from that same girl. Seriously. That's all I need. I just need to know that any friend of my daughter is willing to own up to her screw-ups. You're the asshole. Did it ever occur to you that the reason this girl and your daughter clicked as friends is that they're both socially awkward? She's a 14-year-old kid. Even with the best social skills, they often put their foot in their mouths. Let it go. Don't ruin your daughter's friendship because your ego was hurt by one offhand comment. ETA, thanks for all the awards, kind Redditors. I am also thrilled that so many of you like my username. And laughing my ass off at whoever reported me to the Reddit cares thing because of this comment. Have a great night/day, y'all. You're the asshole if you don't show this other awkward kid the same parental grace and gentle guidance you probably hope others will show toward your kid. Agreed wholeheartedly. You should have acted like an adult and gently redirected. Have the kid back. If something happens again and it has a malicious tone, then yeah, go all Gandalf on her. You're just hurting your daughter by continuing to hold a grudge from a teenager. You're the asshole. Not even a matured teenager, so to speak. She's bloody 14, and if she is the same as Op's daughter, she was probably nervous as hell in a new house with new people having a lovely sit-down dinner. That can be intimidating as hell for anyone at any age. I remember when I was around 11/12, I turned to my old man after he told me off for something and said, "Hey, shut up, you're not my real dad." I had watched Friends the night before and Chandler had said it, so it was stuck in my head. When I saw my old man's face, I was crushed. 18 years later and I still think about that moment, and it's probably gonna be no different for Op's daughter's friend. Kids do and say stupid shit, Op. Let it go. You're the asshole. Around OP's daughter's age, I was at a friend's house, we'll call her Jade, with another friend with the same name as me, Lisa. Jade's mom walked in. "Lisa, your dad's here to get you." I automatically responded with, "But my dad shouldn't even know where I am." All three of them just stared at me dumbfounded until I realized and went red and quiet. It wasn't even rude, but here I am at 30 and I still recall it occasionally and cringe from it. Teens, especially those of us who, like my ADHD self, are socially awkward, are just cringe sometimes. We mean nothing by it and we're just trying to figure out how to people. I've never thought maliciously about weights. Growing up with plus-size parents, weight isn't something you place value on so much. That said, I feel like the friend's comment is something I might have slipped and said at that age with a similar prompt. I didn't know what was offensive or why it would be so. That's fucking funny, but I can understand the embarrassment and the fear from your friend's family, Lamau. Yeah, sometimes stuff slips out of your mouth before you think about it. As someone with ADHD as well, I can relate to your story. My filter has gotten a lot better over the years, but I still slip sometimes, and it was the worst as a preteen/teen. Like, my aunt had this ex, right? And he had the same name as one of my uncles, we'll call them both Dean. So, while he was dating my aunt, the adults in the family referred to him as Todd, which was short for the other Dean. Once they broke up, however, he became one of her two exes, of which he was the better one, but to continue the joke from before, my family, including my aunt, I think, but I don't remember clearly, started referring to him as Toe or the other ex. My aunt and this guy later got back together and got engaged, and we had this big meet the family brunch where we all met him the first time. And somehow, because my aunt was in on the joke before, my 12-year-old self thought this story would be hilarious to share. I say thought, but to be honest, it was like most things I said at the time, there was no thought process, it seemed to come right out of my mouth right as it occurred to me, and it was so incredibly awkward and obviously did not go over great. I think it was ultimately glossed over as the awkward outburst of a child, but it was one of the most embarrassing and awkward moments of my life, and contributed to me working on my filter. If I were the aunt, I'd probably tell Todd eventually about Toe because it is pretty funny. Oh, definitely, the place just definitely wasn't from her 12-year-old niece right after they just got engaged, with Todd feeling like he needed to prove himself to the family already since they were exes once. And I definitely didn't explain it as well as I'm sure she could have. It's not inherently bad, I agree, but I grew up with one plus-sized parent who I heard insulted on those grounds by the underweight parent. The 90s had so much negative body image issues thrown at all of us, and I mean all. The first person I knew to pass from anorexia was a teen boy. One of my strongest memories in HS was feeling bad about my hips and butt and the girls in my US history class all looking at me funny before saying, "But big butts are good and so is yours." No one has ever said that to me before. I was 18. I use very different language about food and size with my daughter to give her a fighting chance at having a good self-image and not a contentious relationship with food. And while I'm still not thrilled with candy and sweets, it's over dental needs more than anything else. She did get that gene, from me, and I feel for her on it. Food is fuel. We need it to learn, to play, to grow. Some food helps us in one way while other food helps us in another way. She's got input on dinner. She helps make the dinner. There is always something she likes as part of dinner. Even when I'm self-conscious, I let her take photos of me as she sees me, and I always take the bite of snack she shares with me. I'm not gonna calorie count that half a cookie before I decide whether to take it. She's 6. I just take the cookie. I'm not doing this to her. She deserves better than we all got. Oh no. Once, as an adult, I was at work and someone handed me the phone, saying, "It's for you." The voice on the phone said, "Hi, honey, it's Dad." "What?" "No, it's not," I said, and almost threw the phone into a sink before recovering my wits. I had the wherewithal to realize that this entity was not my father calling from beyond the grave, but not the mental acuity to register that it had to be another, presumably living person. It turned out to be the father of a colleague with a name similar to mine. "Sorry again, dude. That's not my dad, this is a faux one." And I threw it to the ground. In case anyone remembers that song. I think it was To the Ground by Lonely Island. Yeah, that memory is gonna come back to haunt her at 3 a.m. when she's 40 still. All my most awkward fuck-ups are memories still. I don't stew in them anymore, unless the brain pulls the veil. "You're not sleeping anyway," and haunts me at 3 a.m. too. You're the asshole. I know I said fucked up stuff as a teen. Also, I'd be concerned that the diet/weight talk was a larger issue both girls are facing at school and your daughter just hasn't told you. Glad I am not the only one who still gets a bit red in the face over teenage cringe moments. You can do better for your daughter's sake. You're the asshole. Let your daughter have a friend. Exactly, if OP was ever going to push for an apology, it should have been done that night. Kid, says a bad joke that is hurtful. Adult, that was rude and uncalled for. Please be considerate of how your words affect others. Kid, I'm sorry letting months go by then holding your daughter's only friendship hostage for an apology is not good parenting and doesn't teach the kids anything valuable. Honestly, I wouldn't even phrase it like that. I know you didn't mean it negatively, but when you said this it sounded to me like you were commenting on my weight. Some people may take it as an insult, so be careful how you phrase things. In my house we say we don't talk about other people's bodies here. ETA, I am clearly making the point that it's not kind to make judgments or gossip about people, especially to their face. This is something to say in the moment, to stop the conversation from continuing in an inappropriate circumstance, as in the original post. If one of my kids has a question about one of their friends' bodies because they have a physical difference or a health problem, Yes, we will address that with them in a private conversation and with a reminder that the physical form is not the most important thing about a person. We also have separate conversations about disability, health, and race, so these are not forbidden or unknown subjects in my family. There didn't even need to be redirection. OP admits once the girl realized her error, she shut up. Kids make mistakes. They're not adults. They may do and say stupid things. Give them a chance and they will eventually learn the best way to handle social situations. You on the other hand can really hold a grudge. Very adult of you. This could also be a cultural difference. In some cultures being larger is seen as a marker of social status, desirability, and good health. Lucky you, your husband is such a good cook and you have regular access to nice food and so you're plump. What is OP teaching girls about body image if she takes bigger woman as such a terrible insult? I read this expecting to hear she argued with her and called her a derogatory name or something. You're the asshole, OP. It's just regular for people in my culture to remark on weight without judgment/hurtful intent. I see you've been eating good. Is ultimately a compliment about how you seem to be well taken care of. When my husband and I got married, he put on a bunch of weight because he wasn't used to having someone cook and bake for him regularly. One of his favorite customers at work came up to him about 6 months after our wedding and patted his tummy and said, "Looks like marriage agrees with you." Luckily he took it well because she definitely didn't mean it as a bad thing, but I can also see how it could have been bad. I was there at the time and thought it was hilarious. Seriously. I did a similar thing at 15, not insulting anyone, just awkward and making dumb teenager choices after I got emancipated, and I was staying with a friend for the summer, end of July through August, and stayed with other friend through October and moved to a new city in November. I tried to help with chores and offered money for my stay, but they wouldn't let me help at all, and then would bring up money and expenses and make me feel terrible. I was staying with them in upstate NY, I am from TX, met my friends up there through World of Warcraft, saved up money and came to visit, and I ended up bonding with her kid more than another friend I came to visit. My friend wanted me to stay with them, so with their permission I did for a while until I found a place to stay in town. I was sleeping in a heated barn out behind their house, too, not in the house. My friend saw I was lonely a bit, since I came across the country from Texas, and since I was there possibly permanently, in NY, not their backyard, they got me a kitten. She blew up. Apparently not allowed, even though they have barn cats and it wasn't in the house itself. It went downhill fast. She locked me out of the house in the snow without a coat because she just didn't like me and was worried I was going to take her child away from her. My friend's parents started hounding and harassing me for not being more like my friend's other friends. She was an older woman who had a boob job and walked around without a bra, around her children's friends. Obviously I wasn't there much longer and my friend and I didn't really stay close either. I'll never forget it. An adult treating a child/teenager like they were another adult they were in some kind of weird competition with, I suspect due to body image issues. I own up that I made plenty of errors in judgment, but that could have been a sit-down talk or two, not screaming in my face over unrelated things. I'm sure I made more mistakes than what is here, I just don't know what the things were because she never explained and just attacked me verbally. I was saying/doing the wrong things, and she built up resentment instead of just talking to me and telling me what I was doing/saying wrong. Teenagers need guidance if they are making a mistake, not abuse. If OP's daughter's friend said anything again, OP could just explain that it bothers her without making the friend feel like she's a bad person, by doing things like demanding an apology and threatening punishment. If someone accidentally hurt my feelings and then never said anything like it again, I'd just let it go. Edit, whoever posted the uncivil message to me, I am really curious about what you said to have your comment removed. Also, you're the asshole OP. That seriously makes me want to cry. I'm so sorry you were treated so horribly. Disappointed face, you absolutely did not deserve any of that. And WTF, being called a whore over a yeast infection? I used to get them all the time back when I was going through puberty and had just started my period, way before I'd had sex. Also, I think I've figured out why daughter is socially awkward. Look at who raised her. She learned from the best, it seems. Also, it has been months. Seriously, OP should have said something when it happened or just let it go already. As you said, they are probably both awkward. How does OP know this girl isn't on the spectrum? That's my thought. At the time, it absolutely would have been appropriate for OP to gently demand an apology. Months later, knowing that's just an awkward kid who didn't actually have any ill intentions, it's weird. Why should the kid apologize? She didn't say no wonder you are so fat and disgusting, she said no wonder you're a bigger woman. HTH, is that an insult? Especially if you are a bigger woman. Big deal. Impact matters as well as intent. I agree with you that OP's reaction to that lighthearted comment as being an insult is probably due to internalized fatphobia, but people are allowed to have feelings, especially when fatphobia is basically societal and people have decided that fat equals a negative trait rather than a neutral one. The friend clearly didn't mean it to be an insult, but if the comment upset OP irregardless of that original intent, the kid still could have said sorry. Commenting on people's weight unasked for is generally seen as a social faux pas for a reason. I can see your point. I still don't think the girl meant it as an insult. If OP was that upset, she could have simply replied, yes, my husband is a good cook, but let's leave my weight out of it, haha. Then the girl could have slid in with, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. It just seems like such a petty grudge to hold. To me. Obviously not to OP. She probably is on the spectrum. As someone who found out last year at 18 that I was on the spectrum, social awkwardness/struggling to make friends is a massive part of autism, though it has to come with the rest of the traits, like sensory issues, requiring a strict routine in order to function, limited interests, stimming/other repetitive self-soothing behaviors, not understanding jokes/sarcasm, and having issues reading social and nonverbal cues. There's a lot more, but that's the overall gist of it. But yeah, OP seriously needs to let it go. I'd be pissed at my mom if she held a grudge over something my friend told her months ago. The kid is 14, OP is 37. You're the asshole. This adult needs a child to apologize. The child is expected to have more emotional regulation than does OP also. Maybe OP is socially awkward. Kids can emulate their parents. I have kids the same age as OP's daughter. If I expected an apology every time their friends accidentally said something mildly offensive to me, my kids would never have friends. I still look back on things my friends and I said when we were kids/teens and absolutely cringe. Thing is, we were all socially awkward, generally kind-hearted people. We weren't bullies, we sure as hell weren't popular, we were raised to be polite, be kind, share, have empathy, etc., but we still managed to blurt out things that were hurtful or at least rude by society's rules. I'm so glad neither my parents nor anyone else's in this case took any sort of massive offense to our occasional faux pas. Sometimes they let the comments just slide off, sometimes it was an educational moment, so-and-so, you know it's not usually considered polite to talk about blah. Teens are still learning. Unless they're being malicious on purpose, social interactions are still in a bit of a teachable moment stage. I'll also say that not getting an autism diagnosis when a girl is actually autistic is quite common. The system is taking a while to catch up to the reality. Your daughter has a friend, don't ruin it for her. You're the asshole. I, 27F, suspect I'm ASD, but there's no point in even trying to get diagnosed because there's a 10-year waiting list. I was diagnosed with ADHD a couple years ago, but those meds don't work for me, they just make me stay up for 5 days straight. I'm not exaggerating on that. The first med they put me on caused me to only get 15 to 20 minutes of sleep here and there for 5 days, until it got out of my system since I stopped it after like 2 days. OP, you're the asshole. I am forever putting my foot in my mouth. My best friend, also ADHD introvert, has to constantly point out when I've said something that comes across wrong. She knows I don't actually mean what it sounds like, I just can't talk like a normal person. From what you said about your daughter, she sounds a lot like me. And there's a good chance her friend is equally awkward and introverted. I find we rarely make friends with confident extroverts. Those people scare me. Laugh out loud. If the friend is also like me, she's probably still mentally kicking herself for saying that. I know I would be. Please just let it go. This last bit. I'm on the spectrum, diagnosed in my 40s, and I still have times I can't sleep thinking about something random I said or did 5 years ago. I spent my entire teaching career working with adolescents, and there's really only one word to describe them: awkward. They're no longer kids but are far from being adults, and they're trying desperately to join the grown-ups club in both intellectual discussion and humor. The joke your daughter's friend made was her attempt at having an in with you, and by all accounts it failed. What I also know about adolescents, especially the awkward ones, is that they don't quickly forget the embarrassing/awkward things they do. This girl is mortified by what she said. Any time she thinks of coming to your house, she experiences a wave of embarrassment because of what she said. She probably even felt a little nervous just being around your daughter for a while afterward. She's already paid her penance in regret and shame. Forcing her to apologize would only make it worse, and would likely feel like punishment. I'm not going to vote because I understand where you're coming from and I don't think you've got any ill intention. But demanding an apology really isn't necessary. Be the grown-up this kid needs and give her a little grace. Came here to say this. This incident lives rent-free in this poor girl's head and she probably lies awake thinking about it at night. If OP wanted an apology, she should have asked for one then and there, or just laughed it off to reassure the girl. Demanding an apology now would just increase her mortification and ensure that coming over to OP's house is an anxiety-ridden nightmare, and all because OP, an adult, is so bothered by an awkward child's comment that she can't let it go. Incredible. This so much. OP, you're the asshole, for not having the compassion for your daughter's friend that you would expect for your own daughter. Exactly. You're the asshole OP, and instead of an apology look into why this is hurting you to this extent. It could be coming from your own insecurities or perception. I'd say always look at the intention. The girl didn't mean to insult you. She just got carried away and said something that came to her mind unfiltered and with the understanding of a 14-year-old. Your daughter is finally trying to branch out and has found a like-minded friend. Maybe just have an open conversation and tell her that if it happens again she should speak to her friend and talk it out. Forcing an apology is the worst way to deal with this. I couldn't put it better myself. OP, this is more about you and your body image, not a socially awkward 14-year-old's mistaken comments. Come on, don't destroy your daughter's first real friendship. AITA if you continue with this. Edited from You're the Asshole to AITA. I still cringe when I think of the fucking stupid things I said at that age. The friend probably thought she was complimenting the food and then realized what an incredibly stupid thing she said. She then didn't know how to rectify it. Even adults with good social skills sometimes put their foot in their mouths, but as adults, have the experience to handle the situation when they do. I can't believe this lady has been waiting on a young teen's apology for months. My thoughts exactly. Birds of a feather flock together is a saying for a reason. Laugh out loud ETA, you're the asshole OP. If you like the video, hit that subscribe button for more content. I post every day and I'll see you next time with more stories.